Hi, good afternoon. In this video, I will talk about Houston Maritime Attorney of United States in 2022. At Patrick Daniel Law, our Houston maritime lawyers are well equipped to handle difficult maritime injury cases that other Houston maritime law firms find too complex. Houston Maritime Injury Law, also known as admiralty law, has a lot of quirks and inconsistencies. It takes an experienced maritime injury attorney to be able to see these inconsistencies, and we find them every case that makes it to our Houston law office. Houston maritime workers are at a disadvantage in some maritime cases. In other maritime injury cases, they have some advantages in their favor, but only a skilled Houston maritime attorney will be able to figure it out all. Patrick Daniel is an icon among Houston maritime attorneys, gaining the distinction through 20 years of maritime law in Houston, Texas and around the Gulf Coast. Patrick Daniel has argued maritime injury cases from both sides and has extensive experience, not only in the way Houston maritime law cases proceed, but also in the work that goes at sea by employees of hundreds of Houston maritime companies. Here is a short list of the types of Houston maritime injury cases he has handled in both Texas and elsewhere: jackup reef accidents, deck accidents, tugboat accidents, oil platform accidents, barge accidents, commercial fishing accidents, cargo ship accidents, and shipyard accidents. If you sustained a maritime injury in Houston similar to the above and would like a free consultation with our Houston maritime lawyers, or to find out more about our Houston maritime law services, Houston maritime law. Houston is much more than oil and aerospace. A recent study showed that Houston, Texas is the #2 city in the country for jobs connected to maritime through the moving of cargo between US ports. Only nearby New Orleans has more workers in the maritime industry. When you add up the workers from all Texas ports, it puts Texas as the #3 state in the US cargo transformation between American ports. The port of Houston includes over 200 private and public terminals, handling over 8,200 seagoing vessels and 215,000 barges every year. Thousands of maritime employees call the Houston area home. It should come as no surprise then that there are a multitude of maritime injury cases in Houston. Maritime workers who are injured at sea do not have many of the recourses that land-based workers do, and often have to hire a maritime injury lawyer in Houston to protect their rights and help them recover losses that stem from the maritime injury. Houston maritime attorneys. Houston maritime lawyers are plentiful and they know admiralty law, maritime law, inside out, but experience is key. As an elite maritime injury lawyer, founder Patrick Daniel has litigated hundreds of maritime injury cases and has substantial recoveries from his clients. But this process requires more than a successful courtroom attorney. Maritime work is grueling, unforgiving, and raw, and any Houston, Texas lawyer who aspires to represent maritime workers had better know their work as well as he knows the law. That's what sets Patrick Daniel Law ahead of the other law firms in Houston, Texas. He knows the work. He grew in Louisiana and has 20 years experience in litigating maritime cases, some of it from the other side of the courtroom. Working at sea. It's a different world out there. There are literally hundreds of maritime companies in Houston, and even though they claim to appreciate their companies and employees and the sacrifices they make, you are only on falling a simpler deck or on tumbling pallet of cargo in heavy seas from discovering how much or how little they truly do care. If you are injured at sea, don't assume your employer will compensate you fairly and make sure your medical bills are covered. Any of a host of Houston maritime lawyers will quickly point out that the ball game changes drastically when an injury occurs. Not only that, but the rules are different for maritime employees and land based employees. Defendants in maritime law cases try to hide behind the nonsense of maritime law, hoping the injured party is not up to speed on them. For instance, workman's company doesn't apply to injuries suffered while at sea, but thanks to the Federal Jones Act, maritime workers have the ability to sue their employees for compensation, and employers are held accountable to provide reasonable safe working conditions and to maintain their vessels so that they are safe and seaworthy. Maritime law and admiralty law are the same things. So, what does maritime mean anyway? Literally, maritime regards anything connected with the sea. This can be applied to commercial shipping and transporting or military activity. The set of laws governing maritime activity are known as admiralty law, a term used interchangeably with maritime law. Maritime law does differ from the law of the sea, which governs international trade, managerial rights, jurisdiction over coastal waters, treaties and relations between countries. Admiralty cases are more local in concept, involving civil suits, individuals, companies and representatives of those companies. When to call a maritime lawyer? The quick answer to the question of when you should call a lawyer after an accident at sea as soon as your ship docks in Houston. If you have cell phone, Wi-Fi access and the privilege of making personal phone calls on board, call or contact an attorney as soon as you can. If your ship allows workers to make personal calls, the management cannot take action against you if you use your time to call an attorney. A common mistake some workers make is trying to appear to be a team player who doesn't want to start things up with the threat of a lawsuit. There could be quite a price to pay in order to protect an image that won't even benefit you in the long run. A lot of Houston maritime workers or former workers who can't work anymore wish they had called an attorney promptly after their accident. This is all about today's video. Thank you.